Everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be my April wrap up, basically the books that I have read this month. I'm going to be reviewing them, letting you know which ones are worth picking up and which ones maybe not. One of them technically I did listen twice as an audiobook, but I'm counting it because it counts. Let's talk about The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. This was our Patreon book club pick for the classics section for March, April, and I really enjoyed it. I read one book by each Bronte sister at this point, and I think she's my favorite. It read so modern and so feminist. I really enjoyed it. Actually, I learned, because I was curious, that Anne Bronte died at 29, and her sister decided to not get this one republished because controversy. Because the book you're following this woman who escaped an abusive marriage, and just the way she just has to suffer men around her. Honestly, a bunch of ridiculous men. And she calls them out at one point. Like, she's a very nice character, way too nice, quite frankly. But at one point she's like telling a man, like, would you let your daughter date a man like you? Or would you want your son to be like you? And like things like that. And I understand the controversy now. And I really enjoyed it. I do think that the ending was appropriate, but I wished for something different. I'm not going to spoil it, but this was great. I really enjoyed the writing, flew through it. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Definitely recommend it. I'm going to be giving it like 4.25. Definitely one of the best classics I have read since joining Booktube. Another book that I absolutely adored this month. This is my last time talking about this gigantic book. I finished the third book in the Xenogenesis series by Octavia E. Butler. I'm a go. I can't even really discuss this book since it's the third book in a really strange sci-fi first contact series. This is amazing. Honestly, such a weird book. And by the third book, you're following, like, it's related to the story from the first book, but you're following a different character with each book. So I really couldn't even explain to you what it is about. It is so weird. Like, if I tried to mention stuff, you would look at me like I'm insane. But I just really enjoy her writing, her stories, her ideas, and this was fantastic. It did take a little longer for this one for the story to start, but I think the ending was really appropriate for the story, and I really enjoyed it. 4.5 for the whole trilogy. All of them, love them, recommend it if you want to try something really different. It might not be the most like beginner-friendly sci-fi series, but I just adore her. I need to pick something else by her. This was my fourth book by her, and I will read everything. Let's talk about the book that I read twice this month, Atomic Habits, because I was a big hater. Okay, I'm just gonna admit it. I did vlog my experience with it, but I expected to not enjoy this book. I had seen it on so many lists of like best nonfiction of all time, books you need to read once in your life-changing books, and it's just that it's next to other books written by, you know, the kind of people. So I didn't expect to really care about it. I expected it to be like every other, kind of self-helpy books targeted towards men. And I really enjoyed it. It is very simple. I completely understand why people really enjoy it, because the author broke down those, big concepts in easy steps. And each chapter, actually, it ends with a summary of the chapter, so you can just look back to that section if you want a refresher. I listened to it as an audiobook mostly because I thought it was the best way to go through it, because it makes you want to start reorganizing your life. So I read it once, really enjoyed it, and I still had it from the library, and I'm like, you know what? Instead of returning it, let me like re-listen to it bits by bits. And I did enjoy it more the first time, makes sense, but I now recommend this. This was worth the hype. I completely understand why people rave about this, and I enjoyed it. Is it life-changing? I don't know if I would go that far, but definitely something I would highly recommend. I also gave myself a challenge to try different authors that are really popular, but I've never read anything by them, to decide if they are for me or not. And for this month, it was Arlen Coben. So I read two of his books. The first one was Teleone, which was fine. Honestly, this man goes with his wife to a cottage that is owned by his family, and they go there every year, and then his wife gets kidnapped, and they find her body a couple days later. He's also attacked, and years later, you're still following him, and like she seems to be coming back, messaging him, and like things are strange, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. It was fine. Honestly, airport kind of book, that's the best way to describe it. I don't have any hard feelings. I didn't really care that much for the main male character, but it seemed just fine. It was okay. I tried actually to watch the movie, which turned out to be a French movie. I wasn't aware. And let me include the picture, because the main character is supposed to be 25 when he gets attacked, and then 8 years later, so 33, when the rest of the story is happening. And they chose this actor, who's a great actor, but he's 50 in the movie. And I couldn't suspend my disbelief whatsoever. So I didn't finish the movie, but it seemed to be pretty close to the book if you want to skip the book. So then I read something else by him, The Woods, which this one I am so torn, because I think the writing is much, much better. I feel like this one, it felt a bit stiff. I think that was one of my issues. And there are kind of two mysteries. You're following a character when he is 17, and he is in a like summer camp with his whole family. His sister is also there, and his family, like his parents, are working there. And 4 kids go into the woods and they disappear. 2 bodies are found, but 2 aren't, including his sister. And then 25 years later or something. Is it 25 years later? 20 years later. Yes, he's 37 at the end. So 20 years later, the parents of the people he is in court against are trying to dig some dirt against him. So this story is coming back up. Like I said, I feel like the writing was much, much better. I really enjoyed the old mystery portion, not so much the current case, because it felt very, very cliche. He's defending basically a poor underage black woman who was sexually assaulted by 2 rich white boys. And the main character is just so unlikable, and I'm pretty sure he's meant to be, but like it was just so obnoxious at times. I think the author tried to humanize him by giving him like a dead wife. She died from cancer, and like a daughter. But at the same time, he would describe the sister of his dead wife as like being the ugly sister, and like a bunch of stuff like that. And it was just very, very cringy. And the whole like, you know, I like to joke around like sometimes you can really tell whenever a book has been written by men. So many female characters were like the hottest person ever. And at one point he's like on university campus and he's like surrounded by 20-year-olds, and he's again 37. And he's like, wow, I don't remember so many hotties being at the university when I was here. And it's just so creepy. I don't know. I don't think that it's a problem that the main character is unlikable. It's just that it was really hard to care about the story since no one was likable. And yeah, I did overall, once again, enjoy the ending for the mystery, like from the past, but the rest just brought it down. So for me, both of these are kind of 3-star-ish, but I don't think I'm going to read more by the author. I did attempt to watch a TV show. I never finished this. I'm so bad at finishing TV show, and it was in Polish. I just think it's funny that both were made in a different country than the US, so I read a lot of nonfiction this month. I still have some fiction, but let's go with some nonfiction because there are a lot. The first one is The Disordered Cosmos. You're following this black woman who goes to get her PhD in physics, and obviously she talks about, the beginning actually, the first third, she talks about what she likes in physics. So if you are big nerd into physics, I would recommend that portion. And afterwards, she talks more about her experience in academia as a person of color, and also she has health issues and like a bunch of stuff like that, which I think is really important. So I did overall enjoy that one. I also listened to A Taste of Poison, which was fantastic. Highly recommend it. 11 molecule and the way that they were used in the past to kill people. So I feel like it's a really easy, beginner-friendly kind of nonfiction. Would highly recommend that one. That one was really, really fun. For some of them, you're following like spies, how spies have killed people, and then other ones, it's a husband that wanted to get rid of his wife. So, ooh, I also listened to Light from Uncommon Stars for the Patreon Book Club, and this was part of the Goodreads Choice Award of last year in the sci-fi section, and it had been compared to Becky Chambers, and I adore Becky Chambers. I will read everything by her, but obviously she doesn't comes out with 50 books a year, so I have to read other things. And I do get the vibes in the beginning, but it's going to be hard to explain that book. You have like 3 main stories, I guess. You have the alien portion that own like a donut store, which I feel like this whole section was completely pointless. Just going to say it. You're also following, I've been calling her Demon Lady. Basically, this woman made a pact with the demon to kind of become famous with violin. And then in return, she has to sign up a few different students to, so they sell their souls so she can, be okay after. And you're following a young trans girl who might sign up with her. Like, she would be like her next and last student. So yes, this portion was great. I kind of wish it was more about the demon lady. I really enjoyed her, but I feel like the ending was just so weird, but not in a good way. So I really enjoyed the vibes for the first like half, and then it kind of just lost me a little bit. So yeah, I'm torn with this one. I'm gonna go with 3 stars maybe. Yeah. I also listened to the audiobook Cultish. I feel like the rest of the title, the whole like language of fanatism, not true. Don't focus on that portion. I feel like if you go into it to hear about that, you will be disappointed. Otherwise, I thought it was interesting. First off, the cover, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. You're following basically a few different kind of modern cults. It starts with like the Scientology, and then it talks a little bit of about MLMs, which awful, and then it goes into like the fitness ones, like CrossFit, and how it preys on vulnerable people, really, which I feel like is so related to the next book I'm going to be talking about, because the author mentions, bell hooks, that in our society we're so lonely because of capitalism, individualism, and patriarchy. So I feel like people are in search for a community, and the cults are obviously preying on that vulnerability to make you spend your money. So yes, great book. If you go into it without expecting the whole language thing, I think you will be enjoying it. I'm giving it 4 stars. It was enjoyable and a pretty quick read. And let's go back to Bell Hooks' All About Love. I had seen this book literally everywhere, and I feel like some sections of this are so quotable. She mostly talks about straight couples, but she was mentioning how whenever there's a difference in power, whenever one gender is trying to dominate the other one, you can't love each other. It just doesn't work that way. And I actually ended up, I need to actually highlight the sections because I just put little tiny lines. I'm just starting, okay, to draw in my books. I cannot do this. It just makes me, oh. Anyway, really quotable. I would give it about 3.5 stars. It did take me quite a bit of time to go through it. Basically, I read like a chapter a day, so it took me like 2 weeks-ish to read it, but I would recommend it if you were looking at it. I get the hype. I have like her next book. It's like companion novel, but I will be reading that soon, hopefully. I then listened to The Wife Upstairs, which honestly, I keep telling myself I'm not doing the Goodreads Choice Award challenge like I've been doing the last 3 years, but it seems like I'm doing it for the mystery thriller section. I think I just need to prove to myself one last time that mystery thrillers that are popular and recent just don't work for me. I never learn. With this one, though, I do have to say this is really, really unique, even though with the title might give you an inkling that it's kind of a retelling of Jane Eyre. And I thought it was unique, so that portion I really enjoyed it. Do be warned that literally every character in there is unlikable, which for some reason, I think I hit my quota after these ones. So I wasn't really looking forward to finishing that one, but I overall thought it was well written, was fine. I enjoyed it. So if you are looking for a quick mystery thriller and you would like to read a retelling of Jane Eyre, it's not a bad one, but I feel like it's something that I would find pretty forgettable. Like, ask me in a year and I'll be like, I don't know. Then I listened to Islands of Abandonment, where the author traveled to a few different places and went to see places that humans have abandoned for various different reasons, like Chernobyl or like wars, missiles and stuff. So it was very, very well written. Like, it was very, very pretty. The only thing, this is not really a complaint, is that I loved listening to it late at night. So like when I was showering, taking off my makeup kind of thing and relaxing, and I kept falling asleep listening to it. So it was great, but just, you know, be warned, maybe not late at night, because I have loved myself. And every night I would, like the second I would be in bed, I would fall asleep, and I had to like rewind every morning because I kept falling asleep on it. I usually don't have that problem, but it just goes to show that the writing and probably the narrator, they worked for me apparently. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. The last book I finished before I talk about the 2 that I'm still in the middle of, Night. Am I allowed to say that on Booktube, on YouTube? Nightbish. We're gonna say it that way. I have a few books on my TBR that I could call like female rage, I think. This is a really good example. I think I'm going to read a couple more that I have on my list, and I'll do a video on that topic because I think it's interesting. In this one, literally this woman is living my worst nightmare. She has a kid, she's married, her husband like travels a lot for work, and she just lost her whole personality. Like, she doesn't work anymore, she used to be an artist, she doesn't really have friends, the women around her are basically trying to become her friend just for MLM reasons. Just awful, straight up awful. And she feels like she can't complain because, you know, her husband is good, he's helping with his kid, but all of that gets weird because she starts transforming into a dog. So I guess it's a little bit like that Kafka book. I don't even know. This was such a strange book. And the first like half is incredibly weird but terrifying for me. This was straight up horror book. I didn't really love the ending, but I feel like it's such a strange book that I'm not even sure what would have been a good ending to me. Yeah, I don't know how to even rate this book because I hated it because it was so horrible. But at the same time, if it made me feel that way, it means it was good. But I also rate my books based on my enjoyment. So I don't know. I'm going to go with 3 stars. But if that's something that sounds appealing to you, this was horrifying. Okay, now the 2 books I'm in the middle of very quickly because frankly, well, 3 technically. I'm still in the middle of these 2 books. I'm not going to go into more details because I've talked about it 50 times. Nonfiction about pseudosciences from a science point of view, and then the Arcanum Unbounded, the short stories from the Cosmere Universe by Brandy Sandy. And I literally just started this morning. Paranesi. Well, I'm lying. Yesterday, I read the first 2 pages and I was like, no, this is not for me. And then I pushed through and I'm actually enjoying it quite a bit. So don't get discouraged if you hate the first 2 pages. So I think that's it. Is it? I think that's it. Crazy month, as you can tell. I feel like I have been reading more and more, but I've also found more and more favorites, which finally, I feel like the beginning of the year was pretty rough, but I really enjoyed myself this month. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thumbs up, subscribe. Let me know in the comment section if you have read any of these, what were your thoughts, and what's the best book you've read in April, because we want to know. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, and I will see you in an upcoming video very soon. Bye. Kiss on a cheek or loving just like we